Even if you're not a fan of running, I think it's still worth trying to pursue becoming a track star. Hey, this is Austin Bristow with Design for Discipline, and today I want to share with you kind of some of the experience and the benefit that I've had from tracking either my time or at least my key activities that I consider most important to me on a regular basis so that I can work towards the goals that I'm doing. Back in November, I guess it was last year, of 2017, I started creating a list of 4 or 5 things each month that, if I could do these every day, this was kind of my ideal, or at least things that I wanted to do a certain number of times each month. What things do I think I need to do in order to start accomplishing the things that I consider important? This can be increasing my mental health, my physical health, working towards goals or side hustles that I have, like speaking. It could be career development, anything that I want to do, time with family, time with friends, whatever the priority is. Creating these things for me to follow and track on a monthly basis allowed me to see the progress that I was making on them. And an interesting phenomenon actually happened because I've typically decent about being kind of disciplined in my routines and having set routines for myself for a period of time. But I saw in tracking as one of the benefits that I actually sort of have annual cycles that have started to happen because in November and December my tracker was this. I set up kind of a quarterly setup, so I've got 3 months that I can follow. So I had November and December here, and then we moved into 2018, so I started with Q1 for 2018. Here's January, February, March. Things were pretty good except the last few days of March. I just sort of stopped tracking things. And then when I moved into April, May, and June in Q2, this was my sheet. I didn't have one. I didn't track anything for pretty much 3 months. And then in the middle of June, I realized I need to get back on the train because I'm not making progress in the areas of my life that I consider important. So now I've got July and August going again. And it feels good to know that I have a visual way to see, am I making progress on the things that matter most to me? So I guess 2, 3 benefits maybe we could talk about with this that I wanted to share in this video. Number one is you can put your priorities on paper. And for me, when I put things down on paper, it makes them more tangible. It's basically me creating an acknowledgement that anybody who happens to walk past that piece of paper can see what's important to me. I may not want them to see, or you don't have to let people see the tracker that you're using. But for me, I talk about things like waking up at 5:30 in the morning because I believe that morning time for me can be my most productive time during the day. It's about creating content to share on social media, or one of the things that I want to do, spending at least a chunk of my morning, 20 to 30 minutes, either journaling or in devotion, reading a daily devotional, and exercise. Those are the 4 or 5 things on a monthly basis that right now I'm considering important. What's cool is as I get to a different season, I can change those priorities out and start tracking something else. So the first benefit of doing it, I think, is that you create a tangible thing for yourself to acknowledge. The second thing that I really like about doing it is I set a number of times that I want to do it. So for example, on exercise, I usually, for my goal, say that I want to work out, say 18 times a month. It's not even expecting myself to work out every day, but I set a number that I want to try and work towards. And even if I don't hit that number, at the end of the month on the far right side, I end up tallying how many times did I work out. So if I didn't work out 18 times, did I work out 17 times? Did I work out 10 times? I at least know, like, hey, I didn't totally abandon my desire to maintain my physical health, and there could very well have been reasons for not getting that exercise in, whether it was a lot of travel for work or travel for vacation or whatever the case may be. So being able to tally and tabulate how many times I was able to work towards my goal is a great reason for me to be able to have that tracker. And the third thing that I found as I started thinking about some of the cycles that I've gone through is that tracking over a long period of time allows you to see trends. And what I mean by that is, for me, in the last 2 years, in the first quarter, I have been super productive working towards something, and in this case it was the tracker. Last year my wife and I were both doing kind of a boot camp for small businesses, and it was a 90-day boot camp, January 1st through the end of March. And at the end of March, guess what happened in 2017? My commitment and dedication to that fell off, and at the same time I also kind of stopped tracking other priorities that were happening in that time. And for whatever reason, it took me a couple of months to realize this is what I was doing, and getting back on the train of being productive towards my goals again. But what's interesting about that is I think about, well, why did that happen? What was that season of life like? In 2017, I ended up getting a promotion at work, so I was taking on a new role. And for me, that meant that there were going to be 4 or 5 weeks in a row where I needed to get acclimated to that, and that really was the case. And coincidentally, which isn't a normal thing that I would expect, I also took a new role at work again at the beginning of May this year, at the end of April. So right as I was starting to fall off on my tracking at the end of Q1, these rumblings were happening about potentially having a new role that I would be stepping into. And as I got ready for that and stepped into it, it again took me 4 or 5 weeks to really get acclimated, and it was a lot of extra hours during the week. So for me to have to put all that extra time into work took away from my ability to work on my priorities, one of which was even tracking anything. So the encouragement for today is to think about doing something like tracking. And you can actually, if you just go to austinbristow.com/resources, I have a link that you can download the tracker. Again, it's a really simple Excel spreadsheet, but all I do is I set it up by month and pick 4 or 5 things, because for me, I think that's the most that I can focus on or try to get to in a month. And then set a quantity, how many times do I want to do those during the month? And then on the right, when the month is over, I'm able to close out and find out, okay, how many times did I actually do that? And at the end of the year, I can even go back and look and say, hey, look, I exercised 200 times out of 365 days, or whatever the case may be. I spent 300 days, I took time to either journal or read my devotional or do something kind of for my own mental health and clarity, to think about things and digest what's going on in my life. So you can start to quantify what it is you've done to work towards your goals and focus on your priorities. Because if we don't take time to focus on our own priorities, that's when things can kind of start to spin out of control and feel like we're not making progress towards the things that matter most to us. That's all I've got for today. I appreciate you tuning in, and we'll talk to you again soon.